In this video, we're going to go over how to multiply rational expressions. When multiplying rational expressions, I think it's actually important to review a couple of things. One, how to multiply fractions, which I'll do shortly, and two, review factoring, right? And just simplifying out rational expressions. You've got to have your factoring skills down. That's in chapter 9 in my Algebra 1 course. And just before this video, you're going to be seeing a few lessons on how to simplify rational expressions. So make sure you're strong on that. So in terms of how to multiply fractions, just going to go over that briefly here. When you multiply fractions, we know that we multiply numerators and denominators. However, it makes life much easier, especially when we have to simplify our answers, to simplify by either cross-dividing or dividing numerator and denominator by common factors. What do I mean by that? Well, we can divide down this 6 into 2 times 3, right? I'm going to do this out old school. 10 can be written as 2 times 5, and 9 is 3 times 3. So that's the equivalent forms of 10, 9, and 6. The 2's divide out to give us 1. The 3's as a common factor divide to give us 1. And so now you're left with the 6 has completely become a 1. 1 times 7 is 7. 5 times 3 is 15. And you might be like, Mr. Gurden, I don't know what you're talking about. That's a different way of doing things. Okay, fair enough. You could also look at it as 6 over 10 times 7 over 9. And you could say, well, 6 and 10 have a common factor of 2. Goes into each of it 3 times. Sorry, it goes into 6 3 times, 10 5 times. But then the 3 and the 9 have a common factor of 3, which goes into 9 3 times and 3 once. 1 times 7 is 7. 5 times 3 is 15. The point being is it's much easier to simplify fractions first before multiplying across. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the same thing with our rational expressions, except there's variables involved. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a couple of problems, and then I'm going to have a second video with a couple more examples. I wanted to first just go over that fraction idea with you. So here we go. First things first, factor everything as much as you can based on greatest common factors. 3x minus 5 has no greatest common factor, can't do anything with it. X squared, same thing. 6x, nothing doing. But 9x minus 15 I can factor. So I'm going to rewrite everything. I'll get 3x minus 5 all over x squared times 6x all over. The greatest common factor between 9 and 15 is 3. So I could rewrite that as 3 times 3x minus 5. And now some things appear. First things first, as I've shown you in earlier videos, write out your excluded values first. So anything that's in a denominator should become an excluded value consideration. So x squared, when will that equal 0? When x is 0. So x cannot equal 0 because of this. 3x minus 5, we'll do a little bit of side work. When that's equal to 0, we'll have an issue. We'll have an excluded value. So I add 5 to both sides, I get 3x equals 0. And then, if I add 5 to both sides, I don't think I get 0. Add 5 to 0, you get 5. Then divide by 3 and you get x equals 5/3. Nice. So those are the two x values that x cannot take on, otherwise we'll get 0 in the denominator. Now from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide out common factors. 3x minus 5, that entire number and this entire number divide out to give us 1. So that's 1 and this is now 1. The 3 and the 6 will divide out. 3 goes into itself once and into 6 2 times. And x will divide into x squared once, leaving us with just an x in the denominator and a 1 here. So what do we have left? We have 1 times 2 times 1, which is 2 in the numerator. In the denominator, you have 2 1's here. The 3 canceled, the 3x minus 5 canceled. You have x times 1 times 1, which is 2 over x. What that means is we now have that all of this simplifies down to 2 over x so long as we don't use values of x equals 0 or 5/3. Nice. Go piece by piece, divide out part by part. Let's do one more. So this one's screaming to factor the heck out of it. What I'm going to show you is a technique that I like to do so I don't have to copy everything over again. I'm going to factor right over it. So I'm going to put what x squared minus 16x plus 20 is equal to right above it. So I know I'd have x and x. The factor of 20, that factors of 20 that will combine to give me negative 16. Let's see, are there any factors of 20? 1 and 20? No. Let's see, 2 and 10? No. 4 and 5? So there's no common factors there. You know what? I'm going to change that problem up. You know what? No, I'm going to leave it the way it is. So you see what happens when nothing factors out. I'm going to change my mind again. I am going to change it. I'm going to make it so that this is, let's see, we'll make it minus 12x. Okay, so now that I have minus 12x, the factors of 20 that combine to give us 12 would be 10 and 2. So that would be x minus 10, x minus 2. Negative 2 times negative 10 is 20. You add them together, you get negative 12. Sorry for the indecision. I figured I'll change it up while I go. Now there's a GCF we could pull out of the denominator. So this has become that top part. Negative 2 times x plus 6. Because negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. Here we go. Now we need factors of 12 that combine to 8. Well, the factors of 12 that combine to 8 would be 2 and 6. So that's going to be plus 2 plus 6 multiplies to 12 adds to positive 8. That is now this factored form. And now we need factors of this here. Factors of 10 that will combine to give us negative 9, minus 10, and plus 1. 1 times negative 10 is negative 10. If I add negative 10 and 1, I get negative 9. Sweet. All right, that's a lot to process. But the whole point here is we have all of these factors now. So we'll look for first the excluded values. What are the numbers that make the denominator 0? Negative 6 plus 6 would make that 0. So x can't equal negative 6. 10 minus 10 would make that 0. So can't equal 10. Negative 1 plus 1 would make that 0. So we can't equal negative 1. So those are our excluded values. Now the fun part. We'll look for the common factors that divide out. X minus 10 divides with x minus 10. They both equal to 1 now. X plus 1 doesn't cancel with anything up top. However, x plus 6 divides with x plus 6. And so now we're left with x minus 2. We multiply across like in fractions. X minus 2 times x plus 2. Nice. All over negative 2 times x plus 1. I leave everything in factored form. Some teachers will have you multiply out the top and the bottom, the numerator and denominator. That's it. Factor out the numerator like you know how. Each of them. Factor out the denominators. List out the excluded values, and then you're looking to divide out. It's really a matter of what could I do with these factors. You can divide them. Awesome stuff. Remember, I'll have a later video that will show you a couple more examples of this. See you there.